Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. The channel is finally moving again. Hit subscribe and keep sharing these segments. 40,000 views in a segment prior to this one, and then like 20 to 30,000 immediately before this one. So I just want to thank you very much. Newsweek. FBI informant is one of 6 to 8 people very close to Trump. Ex-Trump official. Here's the problem. There was nothing in the safe. And the informant told the Bureau that the safe was very important. So it was like Al Capone's vault. They made a big deal about getting to Trump's safe. The problem was, according to the Daily Mail and every other publication, Eric Trump reveals he told Donald FBI raid Mar-a-Lago. Ex-president's son claims agents ransacked his dad's office and that safe was empty. And President Trump made a big deal about this, and he wasn't even there. He was in New York. And he kept saying, they even went after my safe. Now, according to Newsweek, the Daily Mail, well, I should say, there's a viewpoint based on public record knowledge and journalism and sources that Trump knew at some point, the Bureau was going to try this public relations move, and so he kind of set up and planted the safe, because there was another article I read, and I can't find the article, but it was talking about a recently purchased, the safe was recently purchased, but you can look at Newsweek. They're making a big deal about informants. Okay, so Trump knows that almost everyone around him is going to try to betray him. He also knows that eventually they're going to do to him, or they were probably going to do to him what they did to Roger Stone and others, which was the public relations-driven early morning raid on either Mar-a-Lago or one of his other properties. Okay, I mean, they could go to Trump Tower. They could do the same thing. Again, they don't have anything on Trump, but one thing that he's good at is marketing. So he kind of lost control of the media narrative towards the end of his presidency, but he's very good at marketing. He's breaking fundraising records from this. And it is possible that he might not have known exactly when it was going to take place, but it's possible that he removed, either he was using that safe, or, I mean, who has an empty safe? Usually if you have a safe, you're putting like firearms in there or, something important, except if you're Hunter, then you're brandishing them, without any clothes on. But, usually like you're putting something very important in a safe. You don't own empty safes. There's no reason to own an empty safe unless you're trying to deceive somebody. In the comments section below, and hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. If you want to give a super thanks to this segment, thank you so very much. It's right next to the like and the share buttons. If you want to support my viewpoints and my work and my channel long term, my Patreon is below in the pin and the description section as well. And if you want to read my writing in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, other publications, you can see my debates there as well. Go to hagoodman.com. I'm upgrading the website, revamping it, but I want to read you. In a Thursday appearance on CNN, Mulvaney said the informant must have been in Trump's inner circle, explaining that even he wasn't aware of the safe at Mar-a-Lago, which Trump said agents broke into, despite being Trump's chief of staff for more than a year. But it was an empty safe. Quote, that would be someone handling things day to day, who knew where documents were. So it would be somebody very close to the president. But there were no documents in that safe. He wasn't there. Trump wasn't there. It is possible also that there are, the leadership at the Bureau is obviously loyal to the Democratic Party. There's no doubt. Clinton had top secret and special access program intelligence on servers running outside of the United States government. Okay? When I say that, I know that there's a biological or some kind of emotional or psychological response that does not allow morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats to hear what I just said. So when I say this, it's like it turns into a frequency that wonderful human beings who vote Democrat cannot hear. I'll repeat that. Clinton had top secret and special access program intelligence transferred somehow, we don't know how, removed, we don't know how, from secure government networks or secure government facilities onto her private computer servers that were completely separate from U.S. government firewalls and security. And so nobody within the U.S. government could access her servers, but she could access government networks. Does that make any sense to you? But God forbid Trump has a couple boxes when he was president. So he has the power to classify and declassify. Okay? And you better believe, if they want a spotlight on the entire Clinton email cover-up by Comey, Strzok, McCabe, and Clapper, because nobody has ever asked James Comey or Peter Strzok or James Clapper or Brennan or Andrew McCabe, how was Clinton and her team able to transfer top secret intelligence and SAP intel from the U.S. government? It's not just storing. How are they able to transfer that data from the government to Clinton's private servers? That is a crime. You cannot do that. But again, I want a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump 2024. We have to redo 2016. We're living in 2016 all the time. Every day is a different matrix, different type of... 2016 was a moment when they cheated Bernie Sanders and they blamed another country for cheating Bernie Sanders, for us knowing whenever we start knowing about Democratic Party corruption, it's another country's plot to inform you. So we're still living in that world. Now you have the Federal Bureau of Investigation. By the way, a disclaimer, I am against any threatening statements, negative statements towards any agents or the Bureau itself. Critique is fine, but there are probably a lot of, I'm sure, very, very, very good agents at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and they do protect us from, absolute madmen, criminal organizations, serious international, security issues, and domestic security issues. But the political side here, they've taken, like J. Edgar Hoover was less partisan because he had the goods on both sides, and he actually didn't publicly state what side he's on. When James Comey said no reasonable prosecutor would look at Clinton's emails with top secret intel on them. See, it was never about emails. It was about top secret intelligence on servers. It's such an easy concept, but again, whenever you say something like that, the words turn into a frequency that morally superior, highly educated, wonderful liberal Democrats can't hear. And so we have an issue here. If you're going to go and raid the homes of Democrats and Republicans, fine. But if you're only going to pick Republicans, if you're only going to do the morning raids with Republicans and let Hunter commit endless crimes that are in his emails, voicemails, photos, and travel records, and you have Joe meeting Hunter's business associates in the West Wing, and he'll be impeached because of his activity with Hunter. If 150 suspicious financial transactions dealing with huge sums of wire transfers, if any individual did that, it would be game over. And so Democrats get away with pretty much anything. That's changing now. We have the House Oversight, Judiciary, and Intel Committee, all run by Trump Republicans. Trump will basically run the House. Trump has redefined, reshaped the Republican Party. It is a populist conservative party against military interventions, regime changes, never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts and wars. It's against that. The most militant political party we have is the Democratic Party. Okay? This is obvious. Everybody knows, the political parties have shifted. And so if you are okay with never-ending military conflict, you vote Democrat. But as long as, you don't like Trump's personality, so you'll deal with, I guess, never-ending military conflict. There's all the Lincoln Project people who vote alongside the socialists or Democratic socialists, Bernie Sanders, for example. They're actually the party of, more militant interventions. Not Trump. Trump is against that. Trump is all for negotiating with adversaries. Okay, these are sacred cows that Democrats don't want to, destroy. So then they have a geopolitical nightmare in Europe, geopolitical nightmare forming with China and Taiwan, and then we have inflation at 8.5%, and they're super happy. Instead of 9.1%, real wages are still plummeting, 4.4%, and oil prices will eventually go up within, 2-3 months? Less than that. Then you'll have inflation skyrocket back up to 9%, probably past 10%. And we have a shrinking economy. We're in a recession. The third quarter is going to be -2. And if it's positive, it'll be barely positive. I don't know how it's going to get better. If you listen to Michael Burry, Nouriel Roubini, and even Jeremy Grantham is back in the news again, accurately predicting exactly what's going on. On a microscopic level, I have been predicting this in September of 2021. Read my article in the Federalist in October of 2021, and I stated in the Stock Market Crash channel, and I'll be doing more segments today also on the Stock Market Crash channel and this channel, I said we're heading towards a financial collapse and a stock market crash. But he has an informant, so there's an informant that told the Bureau about a safe. The safe was empty. So, and there's a Durham Probe special counsel trial on the Steele dossier subsource, Danchenko in October. So the sources, Bureau sources, FBI sources lie all the time, and they provide false information all the time. Professor, the Mifsud, the professor, the Gilligan's Island professor, who told the Bureau that Papadopoulos had all this shady activity. That he denied all of that. So it's not beyond, and he was giving false information. So it's not, and he lied to the Mueller probe. So it's not about just because there's an informant. See, you have to commit a crime. When Democrats say, oh, Trump wants the same Federal Bureau of Investigation to go after Hunter, but he's complaining they're going after him. Yeah, because he didn't commit a crime. This is the law enforcement agency is supposed to go after people who commit crimes, not people they don't like, that possibly could have potentially committed some kind of crime. Okay, the National Archives is not an intelligence agency. Clinton had top secret and special access program and classified data from intelligence agencies. My God. And then Comey said, no reasonable prosecutor. I mean, the precedent there is set. Trump could have even had his own servers, and they wouldn't be able to really go after him if you look at precedent. But of course, they're going after him because of boxes. That, by the way, when he was president, could have easily declassified. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. The channel's moving. Let's see how long it goes. We're almost at 200,000 subs now, and pretty amazing. I think it's possible that Trump knew at some point Mar-a-Lago would be infiltrated or targeted. I think it's possible. I think that because I have read that he has former FBI agents as security. Or that, for years and years and years, he's had former FBI agents as security. So, it is possible. I'm not saying categorically that he knew the date. He probably didn't know the day, but he said he probably knew it was a good chance of it taking place. The security cameras were also on. That's another issue. So, this is a huge, gigantic, not just mansion, not just like a palace, and so they weren't going to just be able to raid the place without the security cameras on. Eric Trump kept them on, or the staff kept them on, and so they didn't find anything. And think about it this way. Let's say Trump, in the minds of morally superior liberal Democrats, who, by the way, there was this one, when Eric Trump said that's not the way it works, of course the White House knew. Then, of course, Democrats put words in his mouth. You see, that was the way the Trump administration worked. You see, but that's not the way the Biden administration works. He just learned about it from CNN. No, Trump never raided the homes of his opponents. When did that ever happen? When did Trump ever do that? Okay, it happened to him, though. The way politics is run in D.C. is not like when President Obama said, oh yeah, I knew about it, Clinton's email servers from CNN. He was getting messages, emails from Clinton. And actually Cheryl Mills, and I wrote a Daily Caller article on this. Cheryl Mills, Clinton's attorney who was working at the time at the State Department, said, oh yeah, the president knows. The president has her email address. The President Obama knew Clinton had top secret, had servers, almost certainly with classified data. They all knew. But that's the way D.C. runs, especially when Democrats are in power. They have the media. The whole thing here is what media does, and this is like Twitter is doing this now, where they're like, we're going to give you reliable information for the midterms. What they really mean is, we're going to make sure you're not suspicious of Democrats during the midterms. Suspicion is an emotion derived from the suspicious activity, for example, of James Comey, who didn't recommend indictments for Clinton, despite top secret intelligence on private servers. Okay? Despite the removal of classified data and top secret intel. So you have this problem also. Okay? Suspicion is created when there's a double standard, when there's hypocrisy, when you have a blatant allegiance between a political party or loyalty between a political party and government agencies. That's when suspicion is created. Okay? All of these fact-checking, this whole thing, Trump, this, Trump, that. It's like, they don't do the same thing with Democrats. Because what Democrats do is, they'll blatantly lie, but they'll say, gosh, we didn't know that inflation was a big issue. It was for convenience. You can't prove Clinton's servers weren't for convenience. Can you imagine if Trump said, you can't categorically say Clinton's, false, it wasn't for convenience. Because what they'll do is they'll hide behind their sensibilities. And they'll say, well, it's for convenience. Well, no, obviously it wasn't. They make the most absurd, and then they hide behind plausible deniability. So the deception is revolves around their personalities. With Trump, anything's possible because he's so mean. So they're suspicious and he's capable of anything. But his lies are nothing compared to the lies on the left. You can look at President Obama's speech before his intervention destroyed an entire country in Libya. None of it was true. So those lies actually lead to the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, President Obama, Clinton lies lead to catastrophe. Trump lies about crowd size, big deal. And then they're like, oh, the post-truth moment. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's growing. Let's see how long it continues. Thank you so very, very much.